Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with another video, and today I want to start with this video as the first of my new series of how I would build a certain troop combination on a budget. So what do I mean by budget? It mostly features artifacts because you know that you cannot really play with, like, let's say for example 5 orange artifacts efficiently when you have a very low budget or when you have no budget at all. So I will then maybe say it might be more efficient to say, okay, I will focus on another orange artifact or maybe some lower ones in purple or in blue quality. And there will be some other things probably that will also include this building a troop combination on a budget guideline. So as always, this is my thinking how I would build a castle. Of course, it is up to everybody themselves, but I would say that I will start this series with the troop combination that I'm most familiar with. We will first build a combination around infantry and mages. So I would say, let's get it going. I always want to start with talking about the gear that I personally would pick. The gear that I will feature will be gear from level 30 to 35 because before those castle levels and gear levels, it doesn't really matter that much because, you know, the highest priority you have before C30 is to get C30 as fast as possible to unlock the Azeroth mine. And so I would say I will only feature 30 gear and upwards. Okay, so let's get started with the gear. Okay, so let's get started with the weapon. Already the level 30 weapon for mages is just awesome. I still run this weapon in purple quality for the additional recruitment speed up, and with the double mage attack and the additional army size limit, this is really the weapon to go. The holy crossbow is just really good for your performance as a C30 mage infantry player. As C35 I would definitely pick the mastery staff because it doesn't make any sense to go for the fiery crossbow as infantry mage player, and I can definitely recommend go for the mastery staff as your fighting weapon and go for another purple holy crossbow, for example, for the additional recruitment speed up. It really helps you out to get a lot of troops going. Then we come to the belts. So the Dragon Scale belt is probably the one belt that every C30 and upwards wears outside of events and fighting. So this is really the belt to go for, and I already made a video about it. I will link it here for you. But when it comes to fighting, the Sacred Belt and the Blessing Belt, it really depends on your current situation in your kingdom. I think the Sacred Belt is the belt that I would go for if you are in a peaceful kingdom where you can really focus on growing and looking at your event performance because of the additional mage attack, and that can really help you out to improve your castle. If you're still in the situation that you have a lot of civil war, for example, I would tend to go to the Blessing Belt because of the additional infantry HP. It really helps you out with your front line, and the raised wounded limit and healing speed can really help out when you are still in a civil war situation. So this really depends on what is going on in your kingdom. Luckily, I had I was in a peaceful kingdom back then, so I forged the Sacred Belt for the additional event performance. When we come to the level 35 belts, the Radiance belt doesn't make any sense for infantry mage players, so I went for the infantry mage attack on the Eternity belt. So this is the thing to go for. And yeah, now I would say we come to the accessories. On C30 or the level 30 gear parts, there is nothing really to decide. You have to go for the Holy Blessing if you're an infantry mage player. And this is a nice thing. It has infantry attack and mage attack. I know infantry attack isn't that great, but you will definitely compensate that when you go for the C35, because then you are able to forge the Chaos Bracelet. This was also the first item that I forged when I was able to do so, because it has really everything that you want. It has infantry HP, it has mage attack, angel HP is also very nice for a powerful SOS, and building speed, of course, isn't the best thing that you want, but all the other three parts are really, really good. I know a few players that are infantry mage focused that forged the perfect heart for the additional angel attack, but from my thinking, if you always have a limited amount of angels that you can have. Of course, they are a very powerful unit, but they are limited. And infantry and mages aren't limited. So this is the reason also why I chose to go for the Chaos Bracelet as an infantry mage player. So now coming to the helmets. There are a few players, or I saw many players that were playing with the Templar crown for the additional army size limit, and I cannot really recommend that. I would go for a purple Templar crown for the additional recruitment speed, and the Dragon Scale crown isn't that good either in my opinion. The infantry HP and mage HP on it is nice, and now you might be asking why mage HP? Especially in events like the Undead King, mage HP is a relevant thing for your performance, and so the Dragon Scale crown can be interesting, but maybe more in a situation where you really want to say, okay, I want to push my event performance where I don't send that many infantry and more mages. The thing that I would go for as a C30 is definitely the Crown of Praise. Why? It has march speed that helps you out when you're fighting or in your event performance. By marching, you don't need that many speeds from the march speed, and you have double infantry HP, and this is really a big boost for your frontline health. Of course, the archer HP doesn't help out, but double infantry HP is really, really good, and I definitely prefer to have double increased HP on my frontline that have anyways a very high basic HP, instead of in the Dragon Scale crown where you have just 1 HP buff for your frontline and 1 HP buff for your backline, where your backline doesn't even have that high base HP. So Crown of Praise here definitely the way to go. And on C35 I would also go for the Dominator Mask, because it is just a better version of the Crown of Praise, and the Royal Crown can be done in purple or also in orange quality in addition for the additional angel limit, but you won't use that when you're fighting. Now we come to the clothes or to the chests, and here we are looking at the Dragon Scale armor ones. Nothing really interesting here that we see as an infantry mage player. Then we come to the Armor of Hints. I have one of these in purple quality for the additional stamina recovery, and the armor that I can really recommend to forge is the Templar armor. Why? It has double infantry defense, it has recruitment speed up, and it has march speed. Of course you won't feel march speed that much, but everything on this chest or on this armor is beneficial for you as an infantry mage player. So definitely a thing to go for, also because of the recruitment speed. Maybe if you focus some other troop type, you can go for a purple one for the additional recruitment speed, but that's up to you. So when we come to the 35 armors, of course the Celestial armor has no meaning for us, but when we look into the Titan armor, I see a lot of players forging this, and I understand why they do it. You lose one of the infantry defenses from the Templar armor, and therefore you add mage HP, which can be very helpful in your event performance, as I said, for example in the Undead King, and you have angel defense, also really nice. So if you're a player that is really looking for maybe only doing an SOS and going for high event performance, I can recommend to go for the Titan armor. But what I want to say, if you're a castle that often fights, I can recommend to stick to the Templar armor. Why? Quickly, we will look into the base stats again. So let's check out the defense of infantry, of tier 12 infantry, for example. They have a defense of 136 and tier 12 angels have a defense of 118. So the base stats is even lower in your angels. So for me, it would make, or in my opinion, it does make more sense if you're a fighting castle to stick to the Templar armor. Because another thing is you don't want to get your angels hit, and therefore you need a very, very strong front line. And this also underlines why I said that the Titan armor really helps you out when you look for a good event performance like Undead King, or when you are looking for a very good SOS. My personal choice is to stick to the Templar armor. So, and lastly we come to the boots. And here we have the Sacred Boots on C30, we have the Dusk Boots, and we have the Dragon Rider Boots. As a C30, I stick to the Sacred Boots. Why? They have Mage HP on it, that helps your mages, and they have Stamina Recovery. You know, I kill a lot of monsters, and this has become a very high priority in the game, so I can really recommend to stick to the Sacred Boots. If you don't have that much time to like kill monsters, for example, every time your stamina is on 100 out of 100, maybe the Dusk Boots might fit you a bit better for the additional gather speed boost when you are gathering gems. But from my point of view, it really makes sense to get the Sacred Boots because they also give you Mage HP. And no other boots give you anything beneficial for infantry or for mages. So now we will come to the boots on level 35. The Monarch boots are kind of like also like the Titan armor. They have Mage HP on them that really helps out when you are doing the Undead King, for example. But compared to the Dragonhide boots, they are just what I can recommend to forge. Why? Of course, infantry attack isn't that strong because the base attack of infantry is pretty low compared to mages, for example, but they have stamina recovery on it. They have monster attack speed on it, and this is also something that you shouldn't underestimate. You need a high stamina recovery because you want to be you want to profit from your high stamina regeneration all day, so you need to wear your gear all day. And we all get busy in life, so it might happen that you forget to change from your gather speed gear to your stamina recovery gear. So it's good when you wear the Dragonhide boots all day. This is also what I'm doing, so I can recommend to go for the Dragonhide boots on C30. So this is how I would build the gear, and now we continue with the enhancements. So, and in the enhancements, I will only feature the enhancements for the fighting gear. When we look into the mastery staff, we have a few enhancements options. So we have, or what I chose was Mage Attack, because I wanted to have a good event performance, and also because I like to think of angels. Yes, they are very strong. They are currently the most powerful unit in the game, but they are limited to your angel limit, and you can have as many mages as you want. So I was thinking, okay, if I ever might lose some angels, I will have no profit from my Mage Attack enhancement, and it takes a very long time to recruit angels. So, of course, this can happen to mages too, but I am thinking about the limit. You have a maximum amount of angels that you can have, but you have no limit when it comes to having mages. So I chose to have the Mage Attack enhancement because I really like to have a good event performance too, and mages are a big part of your event performance when it comes to Evil Tyrant, Fire and Trial, Undead King, and so on and so on. An alternative that you can pick is the Angel Attack enhancement, in my opinion, when you're more of a castle that really wants to fight and compensate the missing additional Angel Attack when you use the Chaos Bracelet and you want to give your angels an additional boost. when you're not using the perfect heart. So you can also go for the angel attack enhancement, of course. Things like damage increased against certain units are very powerful. I already made a video about that here. I will link it for you. But what I like to see is also a performance out of combat and non-combat, so event performance. And this is why I like to stick with certain enhancements to things like mage attack or angel attack, where the units can help me out in events too. So I am not that big of a fan of the damage increased against a certain troop type. Of course, damage increased against infantry is never a bad thing, but I'd prefer mage attack or angel attack for the already named reasons. Let's continue with the belt. And this is very simple. The best enhancement that you can get on your belt is damage increased when attacking, in my opinion. We mostly attack, rarely we play our castle like a defending castle, and it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense to choose on your belt damage increased against a certain troop type when you can just limit the damage increased to either when attacking or when defending. So I can definitely recommend to choose damage increased when attacking. In my opinion, it's the most powerful enhancement that you can get on your belt. Coming to the accessory, same thing as with the belt, just go for damage increased when attacking, because damage increased when attacking also works in events like Undead King, Evil Tyrant, and so on and so on. So you don't have to stick to things like angel attack, for example. And damage is stronger than the basic attack. And with when attacking as wording, it also helps you out in events. You are only limited to you have to attack. It's not when you are defending. So for belts and accessory, damage when attacking is the thing to go, in my opinion. Then we come to the helmet, and here in the helmet, yeah, you can choose to reduce the damage from a certain troop type, or you can increase the HP of a certain troop type from your troops. So, of course, reduced damage from troop type X is very powerful. For example, like reduced damage from angels is very strong when you're getting attacked or when you're facing angels. But when I chose myself, or when I decided for infantry HP, I had the thinking, okay, I want to be a strong fighting castle, but I don't want to lack in event performance, so I will also pick infantry HP here. And so far, I do not really regret it on the helmet. Of course, things like reduced damage from angels or from mages or archers are things that can be very strong and can definitely turn around a fight. But remember, if you have, for example, reduced damage from archers and you don't face archers, the effect of the enhancement is just off. So, and I wanted to be as flexible as possible, so I chose infantry HP. Now we come to the chest. And this is probably one of the enhancements that I'm not really happy with. Currently, I run infantry defense to be, as I just said, as most flexible as possible. But here I'm really thinking of like getting reduced damage from angels or reduced damage from mages, because it's currently the most used backline unit in the game. And because of the reason of infantry defense increases the defense according to the base defense of your unit. And I don't think that infantry defense is that effective. I wanted to have it because it helps out in every situation as long as I'm using infantry. But I think reduced damage from angels or, for example, from mages can be a good addition or replacement for this enhancement. This is really up to personal choice. If you're a castle that really fights a lot, you should maybe think about reduced damage from X, a unit that you face very often. When you also want to think about your event performance, infantry defense can be nice. I currently run infantry defense. So far I'm okay with it, but I'm not totally happy with it. And lastly, we come to the boots, and here, just as with the belt and with the accessory, it is for me the damage taken reduced when attacking enhancement. It has a very, very powerful effect, and I don't think that infantry defense is that effective. I wanted to have it because it helps out in every situation as long as I'm using infantry. But I think reduced damage from angels or reduced damage from mages can be a good addition or replacement for this enhancement. This is really up to personal choice. If you're a castle that really fights a lot, you should maybe think about reduced damage from X, a unit that you face very often. When you also want to think about your event performance, infantry defense can be nice. I currently run infantry defense. So far I'm okay with it, but I'm not totally happy with it. As I explained already, for the belts and for your accessories, I'm not looking to increase the HP of one certain unit type here. I want to take as less damage as possible, and I just limit myself to the fact that I have to be attacking. So this is also the thing what I would always pick on my fighting boots. Alright, so we are done with the enhancement, and now we come to our pet skills. Okay, so when we didn't have the newest pet skills, like as I just equipped anti-infantry and stuff like that, I was having a big focus on the force expansion. I believe that this is a pet skill that everybody runs, and the attack expert is also something that I can recommend. Why? I often say it that I want to be as flexible as possible, and raising the attack of my whole army is just a really good thing in my opinion, because it also increases the attack of my angels. And by choosing the Chaos bracelet as our accessory, you, compared to archer players that equip the perfect heart, you kind of like lag basically always in angel attack. And so I like to have the attack expert to compensate that a bit. Then I also like to run the life source, because aside from angels, infantry has the highest HP pool, and I really like to push that even further and be as flexible as possible. And when we come to the last skill, this is really up to personal choice, what you face the most. I like to equip anti-infantry because I want to shred the front line of my opponents as fast as possible. And I know that when I will someday have the odd mages, I will have additional damage from my mages against cavalry anyways, again. So I am working with the basic passive skill from my mages anyways against cavalry frontline players. So I thought, okay, I will go with anti-infantry to weaken the other part where I don't have any strength against. And of course you could do, or you can of course equip other stuff, like for example, let's get into the guide, things like anti-angel when you face a lot of angels in your kingdom or from your experience, or for example stuff like smothered flare or resist magic where your troops take less damage from a certain unit type. This is really up to personal choice, but for me as mage infantry player, I am really happy with the force expansion, with the attack expert, and with the life source, because they make me as flexible as possible. I can still play a very good event performance, and so far I am really happy with those. Now I need to get them back before we get into the next stuff that I want to talk about, because now we come to artifacts, and this is again the budget part. I won't feature that many orange artifacts, and we will mostly focus on blue and purple artifacts. So let's get right into it. So of course this might be a bit confusing because I don't fuse artifacts that I don't need, and I also don't fuse blue or purple artifacts that I haven't found in a conjuring, because by that I save a few fragments for them. So you might have to check them out, or I will just go back into the backpack. So when we say that we design a castle on a budget, I want to say that that we have to decide to get a constant improvement done with our artifacts, that we can either choose to have one extra orange artifact or two purple artifacts in addition. An artifact that probably everybody of us runs is the Excalibur artifact, because it is an orange artifact that we can increase week by week with doing the monster swarm, and it isn't that bad because it gives you an attack boost. It helps you out with your angels again and also with your mages. Cavalry attack, of course, no use for us. The increased army size limit is a nice thing, and the infantry attack also not the best, but it isn't worst. And on the 6-star we will get army damage, which is gonna be huge, so definitely a thing that I would keep in my array. Back then I got the Garnizang Moget artifact for free, and it is also an artifact that I would add to my array because it gives us an HP boost for all of our troops, all of our units, and on the second and third star it helps out your frontline, your infantry, and the fifth star with the damage reduction for army is also pretty good. I am a big fan of the basic stat with the HP boost, and the second star with infantry HP, also very nice in my opinion. So this is also a thing that I would pick. One of the best blue artifacts for infantry mage players is definitely the Aspis, and also something that I wouldn't miss in any array. The Aspis artifact, of course the base stat with infantry attack doesn't look that nice, but the second star with infantry HP, the third star with mage attack, and the fourth star with damage reduction for your infantry is just huge in my opinion. For budget players that focus on infantry and mages, this is a must-have in my opinion. And now we come to the part where we want to discuss options. So I have decided for myself that I want to work on one extra orange artifact, and this is the Mjolnir artifact. Of course, the base stat with damage increased against infantry is really good in my opinion. The second star doesn't look that attractive, but from then on it has everything that you need as an infantry mage player. And what I really like about it is that on the third star you get an attack boost. And attack boost, we all know it, it also helps you out with your angels. And that is always a good thing for an infantry mage player, because we, compared to archer players that use the perfect heart, always lack a bit in angel attack. So definitely the thing that I would pick if I would choose one extra orange artifact. If I would choose two other purple artifacts, or as I have it, the Muramasa artifact, I would describe it like that. I personally use the Muramasa artifact because it has three things on it that I really like. The mage HP and mage attack really helps you out with the base stats of your mages. The cavalry HP of course isn't that attractive, but the fourth star with mage damage is just huge. I remember when I unlocked the fourth star on my Muramasa and I really had a huge performance increase in my fire trial. Sadly I have no screenshot or something like that, but it makes a big difference. So let's say that we have the option of also choosing two other artifacts. For example, if we don't want to go with the Mjolnir artifact and are willing to replace the Muramasa artifact, then I would go for the, we need to scroll down a bit, there we are. Then I would definitely go for the Gusli artifact. Why? I am a big fan of reduced damage, and reduced damage from mages really helps you out. But what I like the most about the Gusli artifact is on the second star you already get an attack boost. And I already said it a few times here in this video, the attack boost also helps you out with your angels that you basically always have a problem with when you are a mage infantry player. The third star with damage increased angels can really help out when you face angels. Of course, the fourth star not that attractive, and the fifth star with HP boost also really nice because it is an HP boost, it boosts your whole army, really a good thing to pick. The Kotana artifact is an artifact that is also pretty good when you are used to fighting a lot. Damage increased against infantry as base stat is nice. On the second star you already have mage attack increased, and on the third star you have mage HP. And on the fourth star cavalry attack, and on the fifth star attack boost. So the thing that I might consider for myself is that I currently run my array like that I go for adding the Mjolnir, and one day when I have enough fragments and I find it completely conjured, that I think about replacing the Muramasa with, for example, like Kotana or a good Gusli artifact when I have them on a high star when I go out and fight. Because the base stats of mage attack and mage HP are really helpful, and the mage damage it had a huge impact on my performance. But when it comes to fighting, I also like to add things like from the Gusli, the reduced damage from mages or the damage increased against angels. From the Katana, I also like the damage increased against infantry. So these are definitely options to swap with the Muramasa. And yeah, this is my current array. I chose one extra orange artifact and I'm pretty good with the speed of developing my Mjolnir artifact. I will make a video about it later, but this isn't part of this video. So let's switch back to the Boots of Speed. And yeah, now that we are done with artifacts, we just have to talk about the Colossus. And let's go. And the build, how I prefer my Colossus varies all the time. It really depends on what current event focus we have. For example, if we have a lot of events like Dark Abyss Lord or Undead King, I really like to focus my basic stats of my troops. For example, here infantry, HP, defense and attack, because these aspects of infantry takes less damage from a certain unit type don't have any effect in events like, for example, as I said, Undead King and so on and so on. But since we have the Zodiac update, I like to get an even balance in my infantry Colossus, because I know that I fight other players like at least twice a day. And so I also like to have the infantry takes less damage from archers, from mages. So I just get an even balance in the Colossus. When I say, okay, I have that many Titan crystals and ancient relics that I can really power up those base stats of my Colossus and still keep my level 70 for the Colossus skill, then I sometimes change to a full base stats and, for example, like level 10 of the damage skills for events like the Undead King. In my Mage Colossus, it is kind of like the same. I really overweight the Mage attack because it is for the base stats. It helps me out with my event performance. The HP and defense I like to keep pretty low, because also the base stats of mages is very low when it comes to that. And as I just said, for the infantry Colossus, also for the Mage Colossus, since the Zodiac update, I like to work a bit more on these damage increased against certain unit type things. So I have an even balance the whole day or the whole week. And I really just adjust for important events like the Undead King, for example. When it comes to events like playing Void, I really often consider, and I also do that, for example, like take a few points off in the Mage attack, because the required Titan crystals has such a high amount that I can do several upgrades in the damage increased against a certain unit type. And as I just said in this video, the damage effects really have a big impact, so I like to focus those when I go for things like the events like Void War or Elite War or Savage Lands, where you really have to fight a lot of other players. So this is actually it. There's nothing much to tell about the infantry and Mage Colossus combination. I often change it according to the events that I'm playing. And yeah, so since we just got a few days ago the Zodiac update, I'd also like to add this into this format and talk about a few Zodiac signs that I think are really beneficial for a certain troop combination. I believe that in the end we will upgrade all of the different Zodiacs, but there are a few that are worth having an eye on pretty early on, because a lot of those points give you an early advantage. So starting off with the Leo Zodiac, this thing has like 4 out of 5 points from me, because you have Mage attack, you have Angel HP, Mage HP and reduced damage from mages. So everything that helps you with an infantry Mage combination that to increase the performance in let's say non-loss events and in loss events. So fighting against Undead King and also against or in fighting other players. The Leo Zodiac, definitely a thing where you can invest with a good mind into. So then there's another one. I also like the Capricorn, because of course the infantry attack doesn't look nice on the first look. but still you use these troops and you will have a very high count of infantry. And so it's never a bad thing. Of course, stats like HP and defense are way better on your infantry, but in the end, it is still a good thing to have. Then we follow up with infantry HP, the best base stats of your infantry. And then we have mage attack and mage damage, also a damage improvement that is really, really good. And so the Capricorn also a 4 out of 5 that I would pick. Max recruitment, no need in my opinion, but all in all, a nice to have. Then there are a few other Zodiacs that really depend on your individual situation. For example, I'm also a fan of the Scorpion because you have Angel HP, which is also nice for fighting in the Star Runes. And you have mage attack and damage increased against angels. And from the few days of playing in the Star Runes, I have faced a lot of angels, so also a nice thing to have. There are a few other Zodiacs that I also think are really, really good. For example, the Pisces for the infantry HP, and on the 4th improvement you have damage reduction for infantry. But so far the 3rd improvement for infantry Colossus, or the 3rd big focus in your Zodiacs, really always depends on your individual situation, what you focus and all of that stuff. But all in all, I can say that the Leo and the Capricorn really look really, really good on the first look and are definitely worth having an eye on. So this is actually it about the Star Palace with your Zodiacs, and yeah, that is actually it. This was the first part of my series of how I would like to build, or how I would build. So what I can say is that if you like the video, please leave a subscription to my channel. That really helps me out. And let me know down in the comments below what troop combination you want to see next. And then I would say see you next week. Goodbye, guys.